So I wanted to make sure that I posted up a mirror match for you guys of the Ruby Sapphire Popsicle control. This is the deck list that I'm using. It is linked in the description, probably pinned in the comments. And again, you can check it out on Dreamboard Inc. under my Quantum Lorcana account. Let's go ahead and get into the match. So there's a couple key elements in the mirror match that I want to mention. Some of it is pretty obvious, but I wanted to break it down in terms of how it actually impacts the game state and the implications for how you end up building your lines in the end game. In the mirror match, obviously, you don't have to worry about getting aggroed out usually. Whoever goes first should have tempo control, and you're aiming to play your best possible curve line. So you want to play your 1-drops, your 2-drops, you want to play something every turn, because the goal is you want to obviously have your Hiram engine online sooner. And again, going first, you have the advantage. Hopefully your opponent doesn't end up ramping through while you're unable to ramp. So for example here, I have to end up missing an ink drop next turn because I don't want to ink my Hiram, and so therefore I'm going to be forced to crash my grandma, and the opponent actually ended up using a Mickey to get ahead on ink. So really bad start for me. That's my consequence of playing too many uninkables. And if you didn't pay attention there, you also missed a big misplay on my part where I have a scepter up and I have 2 grandmas. I could have either just quested with the grandmas and forced my opponent to either take out my grandmas, but again, because I missed an ink drop, my opponent probably wants to not kill my grandmas, so I thought I had to suicide one. But the bigger mistake was not using the scepter on the first grandma to quest and then making the other grandma a 2-1 so I can crash it into the owl. So I just kind of left my opponent's owl there when I could have taken it out, which isn't great. But my opponent does me a nice little favor here, and instead of using their Hiram to quest and banish the coconut basket, they play Judy and banish it instead. So instead of drawing 2, they draw 1. And my guess is they probably dropped Judy and then just clicked select to use the ability by accident, not thinking that, oh, I actually don't want to use the ability. But then I'm thinking, like, why would you waste your Judy here? It seems like it would be pretty good in this matchup, either to draw on your own end when you don't have a Hiram, or to eliminate one of my own items. Regardless though, at this point I have to drop a be prepared because the game state is just beyond me. At this point the opponent is going to be questing for way too much, and at a certain point, since you don't play any Aladdins or anything like that, you will be in threat of constantly losing the game, and eventually you will lose the game if you let the opponent get too far ahead in lore. So you do have to be aware of that and sometimes just crash your own stuff. Regardless though, the opponent reveals that they're on a Cogsworth package on their build, which is interesting. So they're obviously playing the shift. There's no reason you'd play the smaller one without it. But the smaller one does have some synergy with Maui, I guess, which this deck does run 4 of usually. So that's pretty good as well. We're going to drop our second Gaston, and this is how desperate I am for inkables here, which leads me to my next point. In the mirror match, you obviously want to be keeping up with ink, and this is where Fishbone Quills can really come in handy, because getting to your endgame threats faster just means that you can dictate the pace of the match, and in a control matchup, that's everything. Now, what does dictate control of the pace of the match actually mean? Well, you just think of it as if your opponent has cards on board and you have less cards on board, you want to be able to force your opponent's cards out, or lead your opponent on into making plays that are less optimal than the plays that they would normally make. So for example, I might have more cards in hand and maybe a board that quests for like 4, but I'm already on 10 lore, and my opponent's like, ah shoot, like well, I have 2 things on board too, I have to be prepared or something because I can't let him get to 14. He has 4 cards in hand. He's going to just play more threats and just put even more pressure on me. So I got to be prepared now before he's able to just continue to quest and deal with my own threats. So they end up like questing with their cards and forcing out to be prepared because they know that, you know, they're going to get too far behind in lore or something like that. That's a really awkward example, but that's something that you want to do. And so in this situation, that what you're seeing right here is the Hades trading back and forth. I'm not threatened by my opponent's low costing cards here, the Mickey and the Flounder, and so I'm fine to kind of play a little bit more reserved, keep the cards in my hand, use my Hades as a 2-for-1, 3-for-1, whatever's needed there in order to just maintain card advantage, and again, just reduce the opponent's resources down because it's a control matchup. So the better that I can eliminate their resources, force those 2-for-1 trades when I know that they're not on their draw engine, is how I like to approach the mirror match, and you can see the advantage of that. Now my opponent makes a very odd play here. My guess is because they are threatened by the fact that I have 4 lore on board, so again, kind of forcing awkward plays and misplays. The opponent opts to crash their Cogsworth, heal it, replay Popsicle, draw a card, and then it's really funny here. So they heal their Cogsworth again, and then they play a Flavorshim. And I'm like, you really value your Cogsworth not being taken out by my Hades, or, you know, forcing one of my Hades to at least die if I crash it into the Cogsworth that much that you would rather heal the Cogsworth over draw 2 with the Flavorsham. So instead of, you know, which is a fair point, because now their Cogsworth live, because I don't want to crash both of my Hades into it. So I end up crashing it into a Mickey. So now I'm forcing my opponent to take out my Hades, which I think they have to do, because if they don't, I'm questing for 6. I'm basically up to almost what they're at, and they're going to exert to quest, obviously. Then I just take out their threats. I have 3 cards in hand, they have none. So they keep their Cogsworth alive. They take out my weakened Hades there. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. I can use my last Hades to take out your Cogsworth, my Maleficent to take out your Nick, and I'm not even going to bother with the Lady Tremaine, because now I've stabilized and I have total board control. So I'm just passing without doing anything else. I'm like, there's really nothing you can do. If you quest with the Mickey, I'll take it out. Then I'll Lady Tremaine, whatever you play. The opponent does top deck an Eye of the Fates though, which is pretty good. And again, this is Popsicle control. I don't think I've seen a Popsicle yet, right? My opponent has saw like 2 or 3, and they've saw like 2 or 3 Hirams, which is insane. So, you know, I have this Hiram stuck in my hand. I can't use it. But again, understanding how I need to approach this matchup and what each deck wants to do. Well, it's a mirror match, so I should know. You can see here that I've kept my threats. I worked through my opponent's board, and now that payoff is coming at the end. Yes, they did get up to 17 lore, but I'm in total control of the match. They could top deck a Be Prepared, which would be a problem, because that would wipe my board out. Then I'd kind of be waiting for them to do other things before I drop my Lady Tremaine. So keep that in mind. And I do make another misplay here. Playing this Lady Tremaine is fine, I guess. Again, still under threat of getting Be Prepared off the top, but I should not have inked this Judy. There's no reason to ink it. I should have just kept it in case they did have a Be Prepared. I could follow up with a 2-quester in the Judy next turn and still put pressure on my opponent to go for game. So again, just reviewing your matches, looking at where you can improve and misplays, and thinking through lines and not trying to play too fast is really important. But those are my tips for the mirror match. We finally draw Popsicle when it doesn't matter. We're going to pop off for a little bit and then wrap this one up. Again, if you've made it this far in the video, a like would be appreciated. Let me know in the comment section below if these tips are going to be helping you out, you think, or if you already knew them. Again, a lot of time goes into editing these videos, so if you could drop a like and a comment, that would be greatly appreciated. That's it for now though, guys. Quantum is out. Until the next one.